Hi folks, I want to begin work on a plant that's new to me, dwarf honeysuckle, Lonicera nitida, which I recently purchased. I also want to discuss a few things that I look for when selecting plant material for bonsai. So here it is, dwarf honeysuckle. Baggesen's gold is the cultivar. It has new growth that is yellow-green with purple stems, really beautiful. I got this species because I really like my potentilla bonsai, I really like my cotoneaster bonsai. And I see this as a similar plant, a shrub with small leaves that can be used to make a small bonsai. So when I go to garden centers and I see a species that looks like it'd be good for bonsai, but I'm not too familiar with, I'm not familiar with dwarf honeysuckle, I'll often Google right there, dwarf honeysuckle bonsai, and see if there are examples of bonsai with that species. And in the case of dwarf honeysuckle, there's a great example from Harrington in the UK. I also remembered later, after coming home, with the plant that, like, wait a minute, I think this is in my very first bonsai book that I got as a teenager, a book by Harry Tomlinson. And yes, he has an entry for dwarf honeysuckle in the book. So I know that this plant, which I suspected upon seeing it, would make great bonsai. I know that others have used it as well to make bonsai, so it increases my confidence that I can successfully use this plant for bonsai. So the next thing I look for is a tree with a good nebari, and I like the nebari of this tree. It has this flare here, or it has this big root coming out the side here, but then also a root flaring out on the other side. It's a single trunk, and it was fairly thick actually for among the individuals that were available. So if you have an option, I really recommend, find a tree if you can that has a good nebari. It'll make for a better bonsai. So next I look at the primary branch structure. So you can buy a plant just for the nebari, for the trunk, and cut off all the branches and start new with new branches. But you can also buy yourself a year or two or three if you find a plant that actually has pleasing already established branches that you like. And that was the case with this tree. So I was not looking at any of this up here. This is all going to get cut off. Didn't care about it. But what I was looking at was again the nebari, then the trunk, and then the primary branches that came off of that trunk. I instantly was able to see a tree in this that I knew I would like. So this will be revealed as I prune this tree. But yeah, if you can find a good branch structure within that tree already, then you're maybe a year or three ahead with creating a bonsai from nursery material. All right, so it's the next morning. I ran out of time yesterday. But yeah, I'm gonna start pruning this down. And kind of the first thing I'm going to do actually before I trim the top of this down is to get rid of some of the growth sprouting along the primary branches, so you can actually see the primary branch structure. So yeah, that's what I'll do first, and then I'm going to cut these long branches that aren't going to be part of the tree down. So I'll get started. And it's very apparent to me, and I've read a little bit, that honeysuckle backbuds a lot as it's budding. I've seen how it's budded out all over on these branches. So, and even though it's a dwarf, that's the common name. That's just the common name. It's not a dwarf variety. This thing is apparent to me. I've only had it a month, and it's put on several inches of growth in the last month, and it hasn't really stopped growing. I imagine it's still growing. I think the only thing that's going to stop it growing is cold weather, which we are getting. This morning it was near freezing. So yeah, now I think it's probably shown up on the camera. You can kind of see I'm revealing the primary branch structure, which is easy to see in person when I was shopping and I bought this tree, but less easy to see on the camera. Alright, so now you can probably see it. You know, the primary branches are quite nice. They taper nicely. I like how they go, they're just naturally growing in a deciduous type form. So I'll spin it. So I did that first, so now I have an idea of how short I want to prune the rest of the top now. Because as it is now, it's just very out of scale, and I think a lot of beginner bonsai people, they might want to, you know, keep all this great growth, because, you know, it looks so nice and full now, but to make it look like a miniature version of a deciduous tree, I have to reduce the size of it quite a bit. So that's what I'll do now. So I'll bring the camera back out. Alright, so it looks like a tree, kind of, but again, just too tall. So now I'm going to make some big cuts. I'll just do it gradually. There's no need to do it all at once. So cutting a ton off. So now it's like a little more in proportion, but I think I might go shorter. I'm just kind of pruning some of the long shoots too. Because I had in mind to make this a really small tree, but you know, I could leave it a little longer. It does very much right now kind of look like a lot of the trees in my neighborhood, deciduous trees. I think I'm gonna go shorter. But yeah, you don't no need to be super drastic at the beginning. You can kind of do it gradually. I'll just keep clipping away a little bit. This tree also, one reason I chose this species, and I already mentioned it, but I'll just emphasize, it has small leaves. That's really helpful when you want to make a small tree. It's kind of necessary, really, in my opinion. And so this tree also kind of reminded me of the Seiju elm that I'm really into, that I've been enjoying. Same idea. So yeah, it's really getting there. But again, I want to go further. One thing about this species that I'm just noticing now as I'm working with it is the shoots kind of do tend to grow every which way. So I might, you know, to make it even better, I'm giving it like a rough pruning right now, but I'm probably gonna wanna do some kind of detailed pruning where I grow shoots that are growing at odd angles. Like this one's growing directly down, it's kind of weird. And I really feel like, maybe it's just my personal bonsai philosophy, but it's like, gradual is usually better. So I think I'm getting near the end of how short I'm going to prune this. Alright, so I spent a while looking at it, and I do want this branch shorter and this branch shorter. The issue I have though is there's no growth along here to prune back to, and I imagine if I did just prune it like here, it would back bud, you know, next season. But you know, for now I've taken off a ton of foliage. I think I'm just gonna leave these long with the idea of pruning them back in the future. Maybe that's an unnecessary delay in the styling and I should just go for it now. And I might. I'm still thinking about it, but for now I'm gonna just keep pruning some of the awkward growth. But again, gradual's often better. I think this is growing at an awkward downward angle. I'm gonna get that. So now it's just the detail work, which I enjoy. So yeah, I think in an ideal situation, this branch right here would have all sorts of new shoots along it, but it does not. And you know, that's pretty typical. It's pretty difficult to make an instant bonsai, which this kind of is a bit that kind of operation, because it looks like a small deciduous tree. I'm pleased with it, but it's gonna look even better with time. It just needs time. Just need to do the process over and over again. But yeah, I think it's getting to where I'm gonna leave it. I'm liking it. And with refinement, with doing this for another year or two, and then of course putting in a smaller pot. It's got a massive root ball. And I need to read more about these. I don't know how well they take to root work. Not sure. But definitely going to reduce the size of the root ball drastically in the spring. But I'm not going to do that now. So I'll keep working away. But I think this is about where I'm going to leave this tree. There's plenty more detail work I could do, but I've already taken off plenty. One thing I do know about this species is the hardiness is actually minimum is zone 7. I'm in 6B, so I'm gonna have to, much like a cotoneaster, I'm gonna be pretty careful with this thing and not let it go below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Probably actually, my cotoneasters, I more protect them when it starts to drop below 25 because they're in such small pots. So this thing, yeah, I think I'm not gonna let the roots go below 25 degrees Fahrenheit to be safe. But yeah, it's looking good. I'll do a little more detail work and we'll call this one complete for now. Alright, so some final thoughts and a final spin. First styling of my honeysuckle, and I'm pleased with the result. It's not perfect, but you know, for a first styling, it's quite a convincing image of a deciduous tree in my opinion. Again, this long straight section right here, this bare, it's straight, right? That's what looks off. And again, I'm gonna leave some foliage on that branch and just see what happens. I can always prune it, you know, anytime. But I'm gonna leave it there for now. Same sort of situation with this one. The good thing about these branches over here is they have some back budding going right here, and I didn't prune much of that back. I left those little tiny shoots. And by removing all this stuff on top, I removed more than 50%. Let's see. I'd say I removed at least 2/3 of the foliage. So that's what that's going to do is it's open this up. There's a lot more light that will be hitting the tree in the coming years. And I imagine this species, it's gonna back bud like crazy. So I'll be able to refine it further. But for a first cut, pretty good. And again, I've already mentioned it. I feel like I mention it all the time now in my videos. It's almost like a theme. I'm not gonna work the roots at all. I'm going to work those in the spring and gonna protect this from frost. But yeah, a lot of fun. I love this process. It's just fun to take a ordinary garden shrub and then turn it into something that looks like a miniature tree. And this was pretty inexpensive, $30 maybe, I think. Yeah, so pretty cheap. Anyway, hope you're doing well and happy fall. Until next time, happy bonsai.